So CSAs, community shared agricultures, are one, they're not the solution, but they are one solution, one option for farmers, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'll just give you a quick 10-second history. CSAs originated kind of in Germany, Switzerland, and Japan in the 1960s. And in Europe, it was similar situations. In Europe, there were groups of consumers and farmers who were basically felt that urbanization and lack of access to food was a big problem, so they started to form these cooperatives where they would actually work together to produce and sell food, to give farmers more guaranteed markets and guaranteed access to food for consumers. And in Japan, in about 1965, there's this great story of the Japanese mothers who were really concerned about the rising cost of imported foods, the lack of land, and started these CSA projects, which they called, if I'm pronouncing this right, tikis. I think is how you pronounce it. And it's and basically the idea of a tiki literally meant partnership between farmers and consumers, but philosophically it came to mean the idea of putting the face of the farmer on the food. So actually making those philosophical connections. And in Japan, Japan is really one of the models right now for where CSAs have really become big and successful. And in Japan, there's more than 600 producer-consumer groups that supply food to over 11 million people in the country. So in the United States, CSAs first showed up in about 1986 on 2 East Coast farms. And the model that came to the United States came from Europe, and really a lot based in Rudolf Steiner and his philosophies. And then in 1989, the first CSA emerged in Canada. And now, we see CSAs all over North America. There's all kinds of numbers. I found a number that said 1,700, which I liked, so I threw that up. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but there are a lot, is the point. And they are growing. And we're seeing more and more CSA networks pop up all over the world. I was just when I was doing some research, just looking at the different places CSAs were, I saw Austria, Hungary, India, Hong Kong, Holland, England, and networks developing all over Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, France, Denmark, and Germany. So they are, as Roxanne said, they are very popular. They're becoming very popular. So what is a CSA? So Roxanne said community shared agriculture or community supported agriculture. And the one thing I have to say about a CSAs is there's really, before I started running a CSA, I traveled all around Atlantic Canada working on different CSAs. And one thing I found is there was no 2 CSAs that were the same. They were all different. And that's the beauty of CSAs, is they develop to meet the needs of the farmers and the consumers. So every CSA, depending on where it is, what the land's like, what the consumers are looking for, what kind of time the farmers have, are a little bit different. A good working definition that I like is a community of individuals who pledge support to a farm operation, with the growers and consumers providing mutual support and sharing the risks and benefits of food production. So the basic idea is members or shareholders will pledge to support the farmer, the cost of the farmer, the salary of the farmer, and in return they'll share in the bounty of the farm. And in a bad season that might not be very much. In a good season that might be tons. We had at our farm a bumper crop of cucumbers, and literally people were getting bags of cucumbers going, I don't know what to do with these. But nobody gave them back. They all took them and shared them with their friends. So that's the basis of a CSA. I just wrote a couple concepts here. Ecological. There's nothing inherently in the philosophy of a CSA that it is an ecological way of growing, but almost every CSA, I'm sure there exist CSAs that aren't ecological, but everyone I've ever heard of is either doing organic or chemical-free or biodynamic. And part of the reason I think is the reason people formed CSAs, again, in the first place was because there is this shared commitment to the land, to food security, to the food system, to participation in that. So they do tend to be quite ecological. just offerings. CSAs, again, they're all different. I mean, what CSAs offer are quite different. Most CSAs offer vegetables. CSAs can offer anywhere from 20 to like 50 or more varieties of vegetables. Some farms either on their own or pair up with other farmers and are able to give a full range of things like eggs and meats. And, I heard firewood at one point. Some farmers do firewood, bread. What's his name from Organic Valley was talking about they give bread in their CSAs. Yeah, John? Yeah, John. So offerings can be across the board, depending on what the farm's able to offer. From a cost perspective, again, cost of the CSA shares range dramatically from where they are. I think, out in the Maritimes, I've seen some of the lowest prices for CSAs, ranging in around $350 a season to $400, $500. In Ontario, when I was buying a CSA in Ontario, we were paying about $800 for a share CSA, and that was an 18-week CSA. So, and again, depending on the length of the CSA, depending on what's in the box, depending on the location, the cost can be quite different. There was a study done in 1987 that they kind of looked at a number of CSAs, and they found an average cost at about $450 for a 16-week share. And they said that the study looked at what was in the share, and it was about a 700-pound share over the season. And they said if you had bought that 700 pounds of vegetables in grocery stores, you'd be paying well over $1,000. Right? So again, one of the biggest benefits to the CSA is that the consumer is saving a heck of a lot of money, and the farmer, it's direct marketing, right? So I mean, the farmer is getting that money directly. So we don't have to sell our produce or meats or whatever at bottom prices, so the stores can mark them up and sell them to the consumer. So anyway, so that's sort of a very rough definition of a CSA. Again, if there's questions, we can come back to it and talk about some of this.